he was driving him up and down, up and down. He got a speed things. He had his driving license suspended because he was always rushing to football. I had to do all the driving, all of it,
For
all
6
of it.
months.
6 months. With,
I did it for 6 years.
and he would be like unbearable to be driven by me. Unbearable. He wouldn't leave me alone. I'd be like, so
I relate to this, by the way.
Welcome to Behind the Boots. And this is the podcast where we have the unique opportunity to explore youth football through a parent's perspectives.
So it's our absolute pleasure today to introduce Liliana and Mikey. Craig, hello and welcome.
Hello. Good day. How are you doing?
Oh, good. So excited to get into this. So, there's so much we could talk about here because Lily's got an amazing background in well-being and working with young people. And Mikey, you've had an amazing career in the music industry. But today we're going to try and focus ourselves, the conversation as you on the journey together as parents to youth footballers. And we want to try and capture some of your wisdom and experience around that journey. So you are parents to Paco, who is currently captain Miami FC, and started out life at West Ham Academy. So you've been on quite a journey with that. You've got musician Milo, who's also doing amazing things. And then you've got Gio, who left Luton Football Club at 19 after an injury, but is now having an amazing career in marketing.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We got it all right. So you guys must have spent quite a bit of time on the sideline. But what was your experience of football before the boys got into it?
Well, I suppose I was the one who influenced the boys because as a kid, I played a lot of football before getting into music, and it just stayed with me. I've always loved football. It's been something that's been always there. So when the kids were old enough, when they were, old enough to run and kick a ball, I got them, I got them started. Just mainly in school football to begin with. And then it became Sunday league football as well. And that's where they got sort of recognized and moved onwards, Yeah.
And myself, I'm Italian, so I grew up with the whole thing in the background every day of my life. My father really, really was. He was also a semi-pro when he was younger, and so I grew up with the whole commentary. The commentary sound of the commentator in the background of my son.
Passion.
What was the family team, Lily? Who did they support?
Inter.
Oh, okay.
So
Italian and Inter Milan winners. Winning quite a lot.
I've been an Inter supporter, but in all honesty, my heart was never in it. My heart was never into football, but it was a reality, and then sure enough, I married someone who was crazy. Like that was always his. I've always thought that was his first love, and then music, and then maybe me. So it was like I went from, what you say in English, from Bella La Brace, from the pan to the fire. When I married him, and there's no getting away from it. And then I had boys who seemed to be interested in it, so couldn't get away from it. So
who wanted to go and play football on a Sunday morning, rather than go to church.
But they
were in church.
They rolled up their socks. If I took away the balls, they would roll up the socks and the t-shirts and kick it.
That's what we did.
The house.
That's what we did. We rolled up socks and clothing into a ball, so it was nice and soft. And we had an open plan house, so we'd make a pitch.
Yeah,
and that's how it started when they were small.
That's great. Simple things, roll up the ball, you know. Now it's all on Amazon for $5.
Exactly.
That's really nice. So that sort of football journey, what did the support look like when you've got, I don't know if all three of them loved football, but certainly, you know, as it started, what did that support look like? What did it mean for you? How did your life start to change?
Well, family life on a Sunday began to change. We suddenly were having to I was having to sort of rush the boys to games on a Sunday. So that's before we got to academy stage. You know, we're having to sort of figure out what to do on a Sunday. What time are we going to meet up later in the day, and so on and so forth. So it kind of disrupted that a little bit, but yeah.
And I would stay behind with the baby because he was much younger. So I was with the baby and he was kind of trying to coordinate things. But they were late academy starters. And that was partly my fault because I didn't want them to kind of be pressurized. And this is me, yeah. And I wasn't a very popular mother. So I was like, no, I'm sorry, you can't have my boys. They're too young. That's what I did. Right or wrong. That's what I
absolutely. And I mean, that's an interesting point. So that you knew early on before they were in an academy that possibly could have been too much too soon.
Yes.
How did you know that?
It was just you know, there is a lot of intuition that goes on for parents and we overlook it all the time. But for me, I thought, my God, their bodies are developing. Surely they need a variety. And also, maybe I was just fed up with all that. Maybe they could play tennis or rugby. How about that? So I just wanted to keep it open. And also they were at a Catholic school because us being kind of Catholic, and they in their formative years they were required to go to the Sunday Mass, and it was a commitment. And I thought, okay, can't harm to have an introduction to, you know, a spiritual side of life. So I wanted variety from a physical and a psychological point of view, right or wrong, because then on hindsight you think, oh, maybe had it started earlier, maybe, you know, you think, but intuitively as a mother, I saw their potential, physical, athletic potential, and I thought, let them just enjoy themselves and try different things. It didn't work out like that.
On the flip side, I wanted the kids to start.
Let's go.
It didn't work with my eldest son, and then we got our middle son Paco into football. Fit him around 13, 14. He got into an academy, and then the younger son was, you know, got in even earlier. So yeah, so it's that was. I mean, I didn't want them to miss out on that development that I thought that they needed, you know, to, if they were going to make it all the way. I mean, there's so many hoops you have to jump through year in, year out when you're going through academy system. I just felt that they needed that development from an early age, and maybe I was right, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know.
It's an interesting thing because I looked at my sons and I thought, oh, he has the burning passion. He's very gifted physically, but he doesn't have the burning passion. So you kind of think, do you want to put everything onto that one who is gifted, but it might not want it so badly?
Yeah.
So it's like you kind of trying to balance things up and really offer the opportunity to the one who really, really wants it. But who knows? Who knows how it goes?
What's the one that really, really wanted it? Is that Paco who actually has gone through?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Had we invested more time and had we given the opportunity to start early, because literally I would say, people will come up and say, they will come on and say, oh, you know, this and that said that should go and try all this. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, you know. And they had offers from when they were young. And he was the one who always like, it was, you know, I saw him playing and I thought, yeah. But by then it was a little bit, you know, it was later than you would think or want. a child who start at that level.
Yeah.
And what age was that? What age did he go? So this is Packer who went into
13, he went
13.
About 13, he was at Tottenham for a little while, and then West Ham picked him up eventually when he was 13, 14. Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe had we kind of
But I think,
gone.
but the point you made of him having the passion, it's important that because it's such a regimented kind of lifestyle, you really have to really want it. Otherwise, it isn't going to work, at all. It's the same thing in music, same thing in any profession, really. You have to want it, otherwise it isn't going to work. And he wanted it. Packer wanted it.
Yeah.
He was able to handle that kind of regimented kind of lifestyle. He was able to, he liked it. He embraced it, and he ran with it. He ended up being captain as well of the youth team at West Ham. So
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that is amazing because I mean, you talk about, if he'd got into it earlier, but actually 13, 14 is late by all accounts that a lot of people think, right? But he's having a successful career in the sport that he loves.
Yeah.
So, there's something in that, actually, that urgency, not being urgent about it so soon.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another way to look at that.
Yeah.
So Gio also played football. So what age did he get into?
Well, he started Sunday football much younger.
5, he was.
Took him out of church. Well, I mean, I'm not being rude about church. Of course, we still respect our religion.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. That was it. You're not the only one, don't worry. You know how young ones sometimes get away with murder? Yeah, the kind of child was like, okay, he came along and it was like all the rules were bent by now.
yeah. But
You're just exhausted by that point.
Yeah, I'm like, whatever.
well, he started very young, and I think he benefited from starting very young because he was able to use both feet very, very equally.
Oh, it was.
And people would say to him, "Oh, which foot do you kick with?" Because they couldn't tell because he scored a lot of goals with his opposite foot, with his weaker foot, so-called weaker foot. And I think that was a result of him starting, from 5, 6 years old, playing in those small little pitches with little goals, where the kids are running around with the shirts too big for them, and started like that,
However, he is the one who had a very bad case of Osgood-Schlatter because
Osgood-Schlatter,
because I do believe that there was a lot of pressure on his joints and developed body and stuff. So if you have a tendency, you might develop that. So
Lily, just explain for some parents who don't know what that condition is. Just explain that a bit more.
it's to do with the development of bones. And now I have to, review what it is, the condition, but it is a painful inflammation of the joint of the knees, and is to do with the bone sprouts. The sprouts, is it sprouts?
Growth spurts?
Sprouts, yeah. Sorry.
But yeah,
Not sprouts. Sprouts.
we're having Christmas dinner now.
It's Italian, and when
very similar words.
it kind of the growth
Spurt.
right, it don't quite keep up with the level of activity and so there is an inflammation that becomes a bit chronic, and you have to allow it to heal. So by just not doing much exercise. So
How did you deal with that? How did you deal with that?
Difficult, very difficult. He was at Tottenham at that time, and he had been selected from their satellite group to train with the academy. So and that's when it all started. So we had to take him away from football.
And it was painful, and it was frustrating for him not to be able to get on with it.
Took about a year or so, didn't it?
Yeah, it's quite common. And then because of my work, I kind of treated him naturally, and I did all the anti-inflammatory kind of protocols. He had acupuncture quite a lot. For anything that would come up, he would have acupuncture.
We're quite forward thinking. Okay.
Love it.
We're unconventional when it comes to health. And as a mother, I've always done unconventional things, so health-wise for them. So I helped him with that, and I think it really made a difference. And then he went back.
He went back to Sunday,
he did.
Sunday football.
He did grow a lot, and he stretched out, and that made sense that would happen. The condition.
And can you tell me about how you helped from a mindset perspective in that period where he's not playing for like a year? You obviously helped with the treatment, the physical aspects. How did you help him cope with with being out? What was that doing to his mindset?
He kind of accepted it because he was in quite a bit of pain from time to time. He just walking, so he knew that he couldn't play. So it didn't. How can I put it? It didn't. He accepted it. He accepted it, basically.
And also, to be honest, he enjoyed the break and the social level.
Probably.
So he was like, okay, I can go to my friend's house and I can play and I can, we can meet up. We can meet up. Otherwise, as you know,
we'll have a life.
Yeah,
basically.
And he's a child. This child is a child who just takes life as it comes. Is so in touch with his resilience. Is unbelievable, and it kind of was showing that already as a child. So I think that helped.
Well, you see that later in his journey, don't you? Because after that he got back into football, did he?
Yes.
Yeah, he went back to Sunday football, and they had such a good team that scouts came around quite frequently, and he was scouted by Wickham Wanderers. Then Wickham's academy folded due to lack of funds. They closed the academy, couldn't keep it going. So the coach that was his coach at Wickham was leaving for Luton, and took him with him to Luton, and so then began a chapter at Luton.
Okay. And talk us about that chapter, because obviously he went up to the age groups. At what point did it change?
He was doing really well. In
terms of, did he continue at 16, where that's the point where you have scholarships, and how far?
He got to Luton about 14, and he was one of the top players. And the thing with academy football is, at the end of each season, you're worried if you're going to be kept on for the next season. So it's like jumping through hoops, throughout the ages. You see what I mean? You've always got to be better than what they're bringing in. And they're continually bringing in new players. So he managed to get through all of that and worked his way up to the youth team, and was doing very well, really well.
Then he was training with the first team. He was 17 training with the first team, and it really looked like it was going to be given a contract and he had a major injury. Whilst he was training with the first team, he had the ACL, MCL, the meniscus, and the posterior lateral corner. So everything that can go wrong,
4 injuries in the knee.
Everything that can go wrong with the knee went wrong, and it was quite catastrophic in terms of his career. And but he had the best surgeon because it was
we have to say that Luton were Luton were very, very good. Amazing. I must say, for a small club with not a lot of money, they got him the best surgeon in the country.
Yeah,
wow.
Andy Williams.
Yeah,
not the singer, by the way. He passed away decades ago. He did an amazing job on J.O.
reconstructing,
because the injury was very, very bad.
Wow.
And he had a year or out
Recovering.
to recover, and then they allowed him another year after the injury to go back and train and see how, but obviously that was a big blow. And he was, he did his best, but maybe psychologically had already kind of moved on. That's what I thought. It was a big shock when he was told by the surgeon. I remember we were in Ali Street, and we came out, and this is a child who doesn't cry. He was crying. He was in floods. And I remember saying, "You're not what you do. You're not what you do." And he really heard it. And but then that was kind of the lowest point. And then it kind of allowed the whole thing to kind of settle in, and it did. And he, he went back, and obviously it wasn't given after the year of going back, wasn't given a contract. But then he was in touch with his resilience. I could see there was a connection with his kind of grounded self, and so he allowed himself some space to see what he wanted to do. Because with the other one, when he went off tackle, maybe we talk about it later, but I thought, do you want to go to uni in the States? Do you want to consider doing that with a scholarship? We looked at all the options, and he said, no. I said, do you want to go to uni? Because he had left school at 16. They do, don't they? So do you want us to, get the whole A levels or whatever you need to go? No, I don't want to do that. So it was clear. And I mean, is this relevant?
Yes,
absolutely.
And so I think we had a gap in which just allowed things to settle. And as parents, you really feel you're sorry, the disappointment and all of that. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't know if you felt, but I felt he's okay. He's okay. Let him be. And then after that phase, we started to explore and consider what he could do, and he seemed to be kind of liking the idea of apprenticeship and learning on the job. So we looked into it, and we spoke with different advisors, and then he applied on .uk. There is an apprenticeship thing for and there was all sorts of offers for apprenticeship, and he picked and went along, had an interview. They loved him, and he's been there for 5 years. He's done, he has every year he has a promotion. He's like, they trained him. He did the 18 months training, but then in terms of career advancement, they always offer him opportunity to train and to get the degree here and then the certificate there. And he's an incredible, sociable, personable young man, and so he's in the right field. Is doing great.
Marketing executive, he is.
Exactly.
That's his title.
And we'll have a promotion coming up next month. So he's done great. And but it was a very important and phase of his life where you have to you think that something's going to happen for from when you're 5, 6 or as far as you can remember, you're going to be a footballer, and then
this is change.
So
and I mean, that story is just, and it's so inspiring to people, because a lot of people will be going through similar things for different reasons in different ways. But how did you find that? Because Martin and I sometimes talk about this kind of other career that we have, standing on the sidelines and taking them to practices, and you're so involved in that journey. Did you struggle at all with that? How was that for you guys?
Yeah, there was obviously, to see your son disappointed and in tears is not the kind of thing you want to see. But you know what? I thought of it sort of philosophically, really, because in a way, everything he had been doing at the academies had brought him to this point. You know, it built his character. It built, you know, it gave him the strength really to be where he is now. So, in a funny sort of way, you're kind of happy that you're very happy because he ended up doing something really good. But yeah, I think, you know, academy life is important in that way because it helps to build your character, it helps you to interact with others and work in a team, so to speak. He's now working in another team, but you know, everything he did at the academy, I think, has worked towards this, and so for that, I'm really grateful. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, but what did it mean you?
To me,
To you, in terms of how did you did you kind of take it in the fact that
he wasn't going to be. Well, yeah, you just got to get on with it, don't you? I mean, what am I going to do? Sit there and cry? I felt terrible, but I felt terrible. I feel for him more than anything. But look, life goes on, and you know you've got to look at it, and as I say, you know, everything he's done prior to that is what has led him to where he is now, and it's still unhelped him.
Yeah, and Mikey, I don't think, especially, you know, people that have gone through academies or what you hear in the media, we probably don't celebrate that enough.
Yeah,
those skills, those experiences, that development that you have on that journey. And I know it can be different for many people what they take out of it.
Yeah,
but there's a lot to draw from, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Learning to interact with others is a big thing, you know. Sorry.
No, sorry. He has a work ethic that is incredible. And this is a child, and our young one is our baby. And I'm like, really? It's like...
I never thought he had that work.
Oh, my God. It's so inspiring how his ethic and, you know, the way he thinks about his work professionally is incredible. And I know that he says it himself, says it's a lot to do with the discipline that I had to kind of follow and work within. That kind of and he just shows up and he does his job and there's no fuss. You know, I'm like, whoa. I'm sure that helps.
And the academy he was at, Luton, there wasn't much money and stuff. So it's either you want it or you don't. You know what I mean? Because Paco, on the flip side, Paco was at West Ham, and when he arrived in the youth team, sometimes they'd have steak and lobster for lunch, you know, and stuff like that. Whereas in jail at Luton, it was just a bowl of pasta. You know what I mean? And some kids are bringing their own hot sauce to season it with. It wasn't seasoned. But so you know, you've really got to want it. You know, and a small club, it's you know, if you don't really want it, forget it. You know, because it's going to be quite a journey. You know.
I love that story of life after football. You know, and for Gio, does he still like football? Does he still play it sort of, you know, with socially with friends as well?
His old school have got a team. They're called Old Owens, and they play every Saturday. And he sort of has a love-hate affair with them, you know, because sometimes they've only got the bare 11, so it means struggle. There's no subs, you know what I mean?
He's still got that work ethic. That's what it is. Carl. That's me.
Every season he says, "Well, I don't know if I'm going to play for Old Owens this season." Then he goes back and he goes, and you know, and you think,
camaraderie, loves the, you know, the whole thing.
It's that interacting with others. He loves that. Got that from being at the academies when he was younger.
And he's crazy about football on TV. Team. I don't know if we're allowed to say.
Because I'm from West London. Yeah, I know.
More winners.
I think I took my first Chelsea game. I was about 8 years old.
Love it.
And so, unfortunately, via osmosis, the boys are now Chelsea fans as well.
Cool. This means
He still go. We went recently.
Loves the whole football thing. So it's not like what happened to him, put him off and rejection. No,
No.
he actually work in that field in a different capacity, you know, and really have a lot to offer and a lot of knowledge in terms of.
He does. He knows so many players. You know, I asked about, and he knows the background of the player immediately. You know, so if ever Paco becomes a manager, you know, he's got a right hand man, a really right hand man. You know.
That's amazing. So his field of marketing that he's working in now is sport related. Is that
no?
Okay.
He just loves. You know,
he knows a lot about it. That's great.
He could be. If anyone's watching.
Thank you for sharing that journey for Gio, because that's such an important. Those are important words for our listeners to hear. It's not a direct route to. It's not a one-way track. But yet it's an amazing success story because he's doing what he loves, what he's enjoying. He's so that's wonderful. So let's sort of dive into Paco's journey and your experiences again as parents with him. So he's gone to West Ham. He's doing really well there. Take us through again what your support looked like on his journey.
Shall I?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he went to West Ham at 14, as we say. Was doing well, and jumping through at the end of each season, you've got to sort of jump through a hoop to see if you're going to be kept on for the following season. And he seemed to be, handling that really well, and they brought him back season after season until finally he made it to the youth team. And then it was a very, things changed then a bit. You're treated more like a man. You're not like a boy anymore. So if there's a fight to get into the side. Do you see what I mean?
What age is this as well, Mike?
16, 17.
Okay.
16, 17, yeah, around that time. So things changed there. It became a lot more, much more serious. It wasn't just a Sunday afternoon out with your son to watch football, to play football. It became very, very competitive, and he started off, had some difficulties in the beginning, the first year of youth team football. He couldn't get into the side. And then finally he broke in, and eventually the second year he became captain. So, and it was, he had a wonderful time. He was doing well. I mean, then something outside of his own powers happened, and basically West Ham had a problem with the Icelandic banks that crashed at that time. Wow. And West Ham were in desperate trouble. I think they won't mind me saying this, that they made lots of cuts. Lots of executives were made redundant. Everybody's credit cards were given back, and and so on and so forth. This is when Karen Brady came in. I think it was necessary for her to come in to clean up the whole situation. But during that cleanup, they made fewer boys professional that year. And Paco got kind of caught in that dilemma. They were in two minds about it all, and then eventually they released him. And again, that was crushing for him, because he had been such a good disciplinarian, such a good guy, such a good player, he was a model, an academy player. And then what did he do after that? He went to play non-league football for a while at Bishop Stortford. And during that time, he's doing very well there. During that time, a coach from Syracuse University in America flew over to come and watch him?
Well, I did actually initiate the whole.
Oh, sorry.
I was about to say, how did that happen?
No,
Mommy, I love it.
a minute, what are we going to do with this? And he was also quite clever, Paco, an academic. He did always at school, although, you know, in a very kind of, not in a studious way, but you could tell that he could easily handle, you know, university. So I was just there waiting, and I thought, what are we going to do? Just hang about. Actually, for me, it was all new because it was my first son, you know, at the academy. So I don't know what else, nobody knows what else can happen after a child is released. Nobody, there could be a massive opportunity around the corner. And I wasn't happy about that unknown. I thought I needed a plan B. And so I took it upon myself. At that point, I stepped in and thought, no, he deserves to be able to choose between, to have options. So I
Can I just go back to the Syracuse situation because it's important for the
well,
kids to know.
wait a minute, because I know that's important. I know what you want to say, but I narrowed it down, did some research, and I got an agent that deals with that kind of you know, to open up,
taking academy players
to open up opportunities in that sense, so that they could go with the scholarship. You know, given that here you have to, you know, you end up your university years with a big debt. Oh, and he was the kind of personality who would thrive in, you know, in a different country and doing a different. So I set that in motion. And he went to have he did a match where they could have, he had, I can't remember what it was. That's trial. Yeah, not a trial. But he also put together his
Clips, like videos.
Yeah, that's right.
American style.
Different university, and the guy did Andy, can't remember his surname, but it was it was amazing. He got Paco, he got, you know, and he just looked around, and he had a few universities lined up, and there was one in the Ivy League, which it was Syracuse.
Yeah, but Syracuse, yeah.
So is that NL
Syracuse was a big university. Obviously, they had funds
prestigious.
To fly the coach over to come and
Wow.
Paco. So and the guy was in love with Paco. He said, "Great, you're going to be captain of Syracuse. Blah, I want you to be my man in the dressing room." Blah blah blah. And so then we had to fill in the forms for the governing body that handles young footballers going out to America. Paco was very honest, and he was very honest about how much West Ham were giving him, because West Ham were giving him a little bit of money during his youth team years. But the organization in America that handles the boys coming over felt that Paco was getting too much money from West Ham
to qualify
for
a scholarship
at a Division I university, such as Syracuse. So that got scuppered, which was very hurtful, because there were kids from Bayern Munich, for example, going in Division I university.
Got straight to the.
But Paco was very honest. In fact, he was very, very honest and told them exactly what was going on. I mean, he could have lied and said, I didn't really get that much money, Sam, and stuff like that. But anyway, so then he had to choose a Division II university. And that's where Andy that Lily mentioned earlier.
The Syracuse thing came from that as well.
All right.
And so he lined up other opportunities, and he ended up going to a really lovely university in North
in
Georgia.
At the foot of the Appalachians.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful, and it's interesting because that team did incredible. They won everything.
The college was called Young Harris.
Yeah, and yeah,
it was the alma mater of Oliver Hardy as well. He was a former pupil.
so they did incredibly well. So he was exposed to, it was noticed and exposed. He was captain there throughout.
They won the league.
Yeah, everything. So they did incredibly well. So that then he also graduated in psychology. Yeah, and he had an incredible time. You ask him, he still thanks me regularly. Yeah. I say thank you, Mark, for suggesting that, because the whole thing was like for him on every level. Yeah. So, and he played football at a good level as well. And he in those years, it was the first time that he thought, maybe I won't be a footballer. Maybe I won't be a footballer. So in those university years. But then he got offered a professional contract with
Louisville, who were in the second tier of football, not the MLS.
Yeah, because had he gone to Syracuse, he would have automatically gone to MLS. But anyway, and he went to Louisville, and he was there. A captain Louisville as well. He was the first. What do you call it when it's in the first 11? Not in the.
What happens is the league, at the end of the season, the league choose a team from the best players in the league, and he made that team.
Yeah. Okay.
Or some sort of all-star team.
He won that.
He won awards for that
and
as well.
And Louisville won twice the whole league. So, he loved it. He loved his experience there. He was there for 4 years, I think.
Yeah.
And
they won the league twice, and they were finalists twice in because it's different in out there. The league becomes a cup. It becomes once at the end of the season you have playoffs, and you win the playoffs. Then it becomes like a cup tournament. You see what I mean? So and they won that twice and were finalists twice.
Yeah, he did really well, and it's a growing league anyway because
it's called the
new league.
It's called the USL.
Yeah.
Mighty Soccer League.
Yeah.
And is that where he is today?
No.
That's where he is. So he's in the USL, but he's with Miami.
Yes.
Miami FC.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Who would
Why should he captain
me? Hello.
He's captain, right?
Well, he captain. But before that happened, he came home just prior to the pandemic.
Yeah.
And he was training with QPR with a view to perhaps coming back home and playing here. So he was training with. He spent a couple of months with QPR, and we thought, loved
him. But that pandemic happened, and everything went pear-shaped for everything.
Yeah, a lot of clubs fringe players were just released from a lot of clubs, so that changed everything. And during that time, he got a call from Miami, and and he had to in the end he had to go to get a visa to go back to play in America. You had to go to Poland because the embassy in London was so backed up with because of the pandemic. But anyway, he got the visa and he went out to Miami, and
been there. This is his second year, the third year.
This will be his third year.
Yeah. Wow. And he's a ball.
Having a ball, I love it.
In Miami, who does not have a ball?
I think he's resigned himself to the fact that he might finish his career in Miami. It's just
it's an incredible journey, and that mindset to think actually there could be more to this if I just take a chance and go elsewhere, right? Leave the country. I mean, that's such takes a lot of courage for a young.
It takes courage. It takes a lot of courage.
Right?
Yeah. He's got that. he had that desire, you know. He's always had that desire, hasn't he?
And is just a very independent.
Right. It's funny because some of the guests that we've had, and on our expert channels, where we ask them about what are the characteristics that you see in youngsters that reach where they really want to be in football. They talk about that obsessiveness, that desire, that hunger, that willing to do anything to have those opportunities. I mean, it just that's Paco, right?
Yeah. And eventually it will give you something, If you have that desire, it will give you something.
Yeah.
It may not be, the number 9 shirt at Arsenal, but, it'll give you something.
You love football, then, really that's it, being able to play at any level is important. And I love the fact that he did the non-league thing as well. It was like, I want to play football. Right.
Yeah.
I want to play football at any costs. I'll do what it takes to, work.
And how did you guys sort of feel managing? Did you have to get a little bit involved in this sort of the business side of football? There's the agent and there's contracts, and did you guys feel like you had to get quite involved in that on the journey with them?
Well, much of that happened before he went to America, and then he dealt with that side of things on himself. And it's a good thing, I think, because it was already like, a young man, but it's nice to learn how to handle things like that in your life, and you shouldn't have your father or mother kind of. And when it was here, it was the beginning, he had an agent, but hey, our experience of agents is like, if you're doing well, they're all over you. If anything happens,
They're gone.
They're gone.
But when he came out,
it's like that. Fair enough, obviously, but
he had an agent while he was at West Ham, but the guy sort of was here today and gone tomorrow, kind of thing. And then when he left university in America, when he left Young Harris, and he got an offer from Louisville, he then needed an agent, and he took on an agent just to oversee the signing of that contract. That's for a season or two. And that was it, really. At the moment, he doesn't really have an agent. He's sort of, handling things himself. If he needs to move on from Miami, I guess he'll choose another agent, for that particular transaction.
Wow, you guys have navigated so much. So much here. What have you learned about yourselves in this process?
The best we can do as parents, is follow. I've been guided by my intuition and my sense of my connection to my kids, and I did the best I could, and I don't know if that was the best, but certainly it seemed like I was always coming from love and wanting them to be in an all-rounded way, human beings that were happy and content, and so it's all I could do was to follow what I felt was the best thing in the moment, and that's all we can ever do. I think we have to also to put to one side what I thought would be good for them, and kind of follow from my perspective, and follow what came up at an intuitive level, and also stay open-minded. Look at your child and know that there's more to them, infinitely more to them than just this thing that they've been doing, or they want to do this more. So I learned to be more open-minded as a mother, and even more listen to my intuition than anything else, that I think should happen or not happen, but there's something else, there's a different kind of guidance that for me became more valuable. My ideas of what's right and wrong for them, So I don't know if this is helpful, but
beautiful.
Mikey, what about you?
I think all that I learned about myself is that I always had the capacity to allow the guys to do whatever they want, to follow their dream. Just allow them to follow their dream, and if they fall, just be there for them. And because it was a learning curve for us as parents as well. You don't know what can happen. I saw a lot of things, a lot of divorces actually on the from parents that knew a lot on the touchline, and it's so you can see the difficulties that can occur in helping a child through an academy. So, but we managed to get through this.
We're so pleased that they're going here.
Yeah, I'm pleased with that as well. But I think the main thing is just be there if they fall. Just be there, ready to catch them if they fall. And just if you have that mindset, then something will come eventually. If they do fall, if they do come out of academy, something will come. And the academy is a wonderful thing in that it prepares you for life in a way. It definitely does prepare you for certain aspects of life, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also our dreams and their dreams don't often. We have to identify what our dreams are about their life.
That's right.
And what their dreams, and that can always change.
That's true.
What a child wants can always change. We can't be, there can't be rigidity, and also it's not about us, it's about their lives.
Yeah. Yes.
I
mean, my dream was to be footballers, professional footballers playing for Chelsea. But look, I have to put my dream to one side and focus on that.
It was a difficult time to break into Chelsea, to be fair.
Yes.
Champions League winners.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a tricky time.
Exactly.
I mean, you guys will have seen, and you just alluded to it then, other parents on the touchline and seeing, for a lot of parents, we get quite entangled in the journey, at different points, the highs and the lows. It's so easy to get entangled in that. And just to close, because you've given us so much beautiful wisdom and, what you've already said, if we could get you a billboard, we've got a billboard from Mikey Lily, and we could put it up in, the power leagues and the local playing fields on those Sunday matches or, in those academies. What is something that you would say on that billboard to either, players and their families? Like, what's something that we actually want to do this?
Right.
Yeah.
What's your message?
Well, to players, I would just simply say, follow your dream. As simple as that. And to parents, I'd say, well, it's difficult to say. I mean, parents should not follow their dream. Do you see what I'm saying?
Not your dream.
Yeah, it's not your dream, it's somebody else's. Exactly.
Your child's dream.
That's what should be on the slogan. It's not your dream, it's somebody else's. Yeah. That's it. There you go.
Love that.
Me, it's like your child is extraordinary even before it kicks a ball. So you want to know that.
Yeah.
You want to look at your child and the potential it has to be happy, to be successful, to feel fulfilled, and the football is just something, but it's not who your child is. Your child is infinitely more than that. You want to look at the potential that they have for happiness and fulfillment, and it's not dependent on the success they have at football. It is not. It remains intact even if they are they get released. They don't do well. They don't, otherwise it's a forever chasing the next thing, and then sustaining it. And then, you're never be able to settle and relax and know that you are complete and whole as you are before you win any game or you sign any contract. That's my
Give me goosebumps there, Lily.
right. Anything else?
Beautiful.
It's a bonus. It's a bonus. Enjoy being successful, but if your happiness is not so dependent on that, then you will have a better chance of succeeding, because that's what I would tell the child, and I would tell the parents as well. Know that your child is already perfect as it is.
That's amazing. We'll have to put that in really small letter on the billboard.
On the billboard.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a leaflet for Lily.
electronic. Sorry. No, thank you. Please do not apologize. Beautiful. Really, really helpful. Thank you. Thank you to you both.
Thank you.
An amazing conversation, and lots of...
You were not it.
No, we love that.
So much great stuff in there. People to think about. It's a different perspective, right? So good to hear different perspectives, and we loved that conversation. Thank you so much.
Well done with what you're doing. I think it's a very, very needed and a wonderful project. So we will be looking out for what you put out.
We will be keeping in touch with you guys.
My own grief through the kids.
Yes.
And hold on, I learned to...
We're recording.
He was driving him up and down. He got a speed things. He had his drug license suspended because he was always rushing to football. Had to do all the driving.
For 6 months.
6 months.
I did it for 6 years.
It would be like unbearable to be driven by me. Unbearable. It wouldn't leave me alone. I'd be like, so
I relate to this, by the way.
But you get into situations where it's incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
To keep the thing going, and to I saw quite a few divorces here and there, both at West Ham and Luton.
Yeah. It's intense.
I should have put all that in there, really.
It's all right. It's in.
We've been recording, but this is part of the thing, because I really relate to that as well. Getting a bit entangled with it and kind of making it mean something it's not, and wanting the best for them. There's something really innocent in there, but you can't leave it alone. You've got to say something. There's this compulsion. And I see that a lot. And sometimes I see it in myself, and you're just so enmeshed in it, right? You're there, everything, watching, and
over invested in it.
Yes.
But it's, I feel as well that it's almost set up, it's set up in a way that it's quite a feat not to get invested, actually. Very few parents I see are very relaxed. It's just easy come, easy go, like Lily.
And some of the mums are the worst,
Oh, yeah. Having a cat. Some of the mums are the worst.
What I could cope with was that when the referee was bluntly wrong, I would just want to, I would
terrible that.
a few times, and then I thought, no, it's not something I'm supposed to be doing, having a word the referee. So
not a good idea. No.
But when I was like, how could when you watch the referee, you think, really? You're like, no, yeah. Let's go on.
Oh, jeez.
No.